Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for you today. This is a continuation of the test server, part of Save the Universe Season 2. Now we're looking at the elite version of Smallville. So Smallville, a lot of players may not be familiar with the entire instance of Smallville, just because with it being one of the original alerts in the game. I mean, nowadays with CR and leveling, you can skip that pretty quick without even running it, where before we had to run it like daily for if it was the Mark of Krypton and everything else. Smallville also came back, I think, a part of Earth 3. There was a section of it. There's also the PV Legends map, which probably more people are familiar with if they ran those feats. But Smallville itself, once again, it wouldn't have been my first choice or even like top 10 choice to make an elite raid out of, or elite alert out of, just because there's really nothing. Smallville is mostly like open world stuff. I mean, sure, you can make things hit harder, but there's no things to warrant really elite. I understand they're kind of limited in terms of what content they could choose, because Save the Universe Season 1, as I mentioned, had a release for Batman, a release for Wonder Woman, and a release for Superman. But now with Season 2, it's strictly Superman content. So there's only so many options they can choose from. But in terms of really how the alert plays out, I mean, this first section, you're just doing open world stuff, destroying those terminals, and basically just the tank pulls, all the ads. What you have to watch out for is the doomed citizens, the larger ones. They're the ones you have to make sure they kill, because they will walk towards and basically destroy the terminals, and then they become re-shielded. So you can waste a lot of time quickly if you miss one. They keep respawning from like all the way around you and start walking. But their damage, even elite, is nothing. You can run up as a DPS and do it. And then eventually, once you do the 3, then you fight like the large Doom Citizen as technically like our first boss. But before we get into that, just while we're kind of talking, this technically was recorded before they recently did a release yesterday for the test server part of Save the Universe, so we kind of touch on that. So they corrected the CR displayed in quick play, not really a huge impact. They did slightly increase the health for all raid bosses and elite alert bosses, so that'll be interesting how that plays out. I mean, it shouldn't really be a big deal, because, I mean, KCT, the bosses are dying super quick anyway. Darkside War Factor, they were too, except for Darkside, which we haven't completed yet. So that will make the raid feel more elite. Alert-wise, it may impact a Mazo, because that's really Lex is more like a heal check. Lex itself is an issue. It's just the room dot, or a Mazo might be an issue, depending if he gets off those multiple heat visions, because normally, I mean, you can block if you can survive, but most players, you're going to get 1 or 2 deaths on the heat vision. Besides that, they moved around some of the feats into different menus, just like quality of life stuff. Cross-faction is enabled, so you don't have to worry about that. I know cross-faction was an issue when the Elite Plus versions came out. The bigger thing for Smallville is that they updated the model for Doomsday, and now that's applied. So in this video, when you see Doomsday, that's not actually what it's going to look like once the Save Universe releases. Every mechanics-wise will stay the exact same. And then there's some changes in Darkside War Factory, which I can bring up when I actually provide that footage, which I should have this weekend. Other than that, the new announcement, as I'm recording this in the evening, is, or recording this commentary in the evening, is that they now have released a Lex Luthor ally. So I'll be bringing that tomorrow as well. Do that testing tonight, so you guys have that. That was kind of out of the blue. I mean, I guess it makes sense with the Superman release that you can have a Lex Luthor ally, because we just had Superman 1, and Crypto's coming eventually. So, I mean, I get it. But yeah, essentially the Doom Crazed Giant, I think, is what we end up fighting here. Kind of getting back to the actual commentary of it. But really, my only slight concern is that I know a lot of people, or the people that want to farm the feats that didn't do it the first time, like the 250 alerts and 250 raids, all those ones, the farm feats. The elite version is okay, because I think it's like, what, 50 I think it goes up to, but farming even the regular version of Volcano Mining Facility or Smallville is still a bit of time. So we'll have to see how quickly those can be done, because, I mean, that's what you're going to do. There's no way you're going to farm this many elite ones. You're just going to do your 50 and then stop, because it's not even practical. It's going to be a least, because the thing is how large Smallville is and how many open world content there is. It's going to take at least like 25-30 minutes, even after the increases in health. But yeah, I kind of fall back into the same commentary as what was I doing before? Oh yeah, KCT, where I said basically the hardest part of KCT is finding like 20 minutes to talk about KCT. Well, Smallville's the same thing. It gets a little bit more interesting after this. I mean, you can see the Doom Crazed Giant is just gonna melt. But it's the aspects of Smallville that make it longer. It's not the actual mechanics themselves. It's more just kind of annoying. But I mean, like, that was the whole point of having like content way back then. Like, I mean, you had like Arkham Asylum, Smallville, like even like Coast City was quite large. Like, you just had these like huge alerts that took a lot of time. Because I mean, at that point there wasn't like a whole whack of content available to players, so you wanted stuff longer to keep them engaged. So this next part, this one is the kind of the first aspect of the annoying open world fight. So basically, throughout the map, you'll see the arrows. You go up to them. You have to defeat the Doom citizen, or the Doom form citizen, and then basically you have to pick up them and carry them to the center and kind of drop them into the terminal. And you have to do that 5 times. The issue is that, one, I tried to kill it by myself first, didn't work. They do too much damage for you to kill it as a DPS. You're going to need a healer with you. And the whole point is to kind of make this faster. I mean, yeah, you could stick with a group and do 5 at a time, but it's still going to take some time. I wish we could do this solo. And as a tank, you don't do enough damage. I mean, probably you could do like a battle tank spec just for this part. But the other issue is that as soon as you pick them up, eventually there's a timer that's starting, so they're going to break out eventually. And when they break out, they heal to full. So really, it's just like a really tedious part. But at the same time, without like, you know, fundamentally altering Smallville, you can't really do this. So I think I cut to the skip some of it just because I think it was gonna needlessly add like 5 minutes to the video. But yeah, you pick them up and just basically your slow movement while you're running, and then you have the drop in the terminal. You got 3 powers that basically, if there's ads around you, you can kind of knock them away. But at the same time, then at least you have a tank. So I mean, this is definitely something that I probably would take even longer without a tank, because then at least he can gather up all the ads and keep them off you hitting it, because basically the more time you waste getting the ads, or the ads forcing you to break out, then the Doom Citizen breaks out of full health again, and you have to kill them all again. It's really tedious. But I highly doubt that they're going to change any feedback wise, because I mean, this was exactly what the alert was like when it released. And even like PV Legends, I think the PV Legends I only ran enough for the team up feats, and I was like, nope, get me out of this. Because who the hell would want to run Smallville as a PV Legends map? And even the other shame part is that there's no like fast movement. Like if you're running like the Crystal and like say Boss 2 on Jarrell fight, you've got that movement power that speeds you up. Same thing. This is the second boss technically, Lady Doombringer. Once again, she's gonna melt just quick. Nothing to worry about. I mean, you probably don't even need a tank. I mean, the damage is high, obviously, you can tell from that stomp, but at the same time, it's all counterable, all brawling. And then actually, the next part after this, it's fun. It's still kind of a bit tedious, but at least it's more fun and goes quicker. And then once we get there, I'll talk about a funny bug too as well. I don't think that still works. I might actually try to look up a video and see if it works again. But what happened was in the past in this alert was that after you got transformed into Doom form, which will be right next when you run up to the farmhouse, you could actually stay in Doom form throughout the rest and defeat Doomsday like super quick. You just had to like walk on the edges of the map and basically drop down on top of like the farmhouse. There was like a very specific route you had to take. I have no idea how it was found out, but if you want a very specific route, you could stay in Doom form, and then it made like the last boss super easy, because I mean, you're hitting for like huge values. So that'd be nice if that worked. I mean, obviously it's an exploit, but it's one of the one times where the map bugs were actually fun. But yeah, all you're doing in this part is each one has a scientist, and basically just going to the areas marked on the map, turning the cogs. Then you get into Doom form. Then basically you're destroying the citizens. You're destroying like little radio towers. But at least, you know, your damage is high enough that they die in like 1 or 2 shots. I tried the powers 5 and 6 that look like they're on the, I forget what that power is. It the Gem of Horus animation, or not animation, but symbol. Can't remember exactly what that power. Oh, it could be the computer's HUD as well, I think. just the animation for the icon, or not animation, the graphics for the icon. So 5 and 6 powers do nothing. I think they're blank anyway. It's just the first 4. And then basically all you're doing is just rotating damage, and then technically, if you're thinking like story-wise, I mean, technically Doomsday is murdering 20 scientists. So yeah, actually, I mean, the section goes pretty quick. I mean, if everyone's working together and doing their parts, then it goes pretty quick. And this next fight with the Dr. Richards fight, it's actually quite, I wouldn't say quite difficult, but it's something that technically you can wipe on. It's probably about the only part of Smallville that you can actually wipe on. So you'll see once we get there. Because it's technically, like, Dr. Richards largely, they don't ignore aggro, which is that they're always attacking the group, so they're going to point at you, lunge out. You're going to see that. As long as you, like, double roll away, then you're fine, but if you sit there and eat the damage, you're just going to die. But, I mean, you can also watch the tank and see how hard he's getting hit for. DPS-wise, they do have a lot of health or buff defense either way. But this is the one area that where you basically could die, because they're going to basically keep lunging out to the group. And if you don't roll, then you're just going to get kind of stomped. So it's so much like the Mazo fight, where it's like the fight itself is not hard. It's just that there's enough damage in it that actually can cause problems. And then the one thing I didn't test is that technically it's open world, and you can see that there's no lockout in terms of an area. So if you die on this fight, you could probably spawn and run back, I'm guessing, because there's no dome at all. So I mean, I guess that's a positive. I mean, you can't really say that the boss fight's too difficult if you can just instantly always run up. But yeah, you can see here, he's going to run up to you. He's going to do the sonic shout with, or like freezing breath, just with like his one-hand animation. But that's all you have to do, is just basically just roll. It's slow enough that it's happening, that you can see it's happening. He's going to walk towards you and then do the shout. He's going to point at you and then lunge out or kick you, just like they're doing now. If you stand far enough away and just be ranged, you're fine. I probably wouldn't want to melee this. That would be quite annoying as mate. I can see myself dying quite a few times for that, for the splash damage, or if you get line of sight. But other than that, you're just bringing all 3 down. That's it. They do I mean, personally, in my opinion, they probably do have too much health, because I mean, at the same time, it's just tedious, and they're doing the same thing. I understand that you have to make it elite quotation marks, but at the same time, they probably could tone that down. But as you can see here, the scientist pointed, he ran out, did his kind of like one-hand animation, and then walked back out. So I mean, it's easily avoidable. But you can see the damage is high. I can't remember, I'm pretty sure the bug for this worked as well, for staying in Doom form, which made the fight a lot faster. Or actually, was that intended? I can't remember now. I might actually have to look that up on the old Smallville. Because I'm pretty sure I recall being Doom form and fighting Dr. Richards, not like being in player form. But it could be just like maybe an elite, they took out the Doom form to make it harder and had to be player mode. Because I could have sworn we did this in Doom's. Because I could have sworn that's what made it difficult. It was because you're in Doom form and you don't have a healer. So that's why it was a little bit more difficult fighting these ones as Doomsday, because you could die because you just didn't have the health. Where now with players, you're gonna have all 4 rolls, or at least 2 DPS instead of a troll. But I mean, probably the debuff would be handy at this point. But as you can see, this is definitely the longest fight of the alert. The Doomsday one's not too bad, especially if you wait for the right moment and not just waste your damage. And now we're on to Doomsday. It's the same thing. It'd be curious if the route works. I'm sure there's an old video posted of it, because everyone did it back then because it was sped it up. But essentially now we're just running into the barn. Then we get some help from the Justice League. I come to think of it, I probably should have had more interesting things to cover during this commentary. I knew Smallville was going to be super dry. Same with like KCT, but at least KCT I could talk a little bit of like the comp history beyond it. But I mean, Smallville was just Smallville. You ran it, you try to get the Doomsday back, the iconic spikes back. Used to wear that style for a bit. But other than that, I mean, largely Smallville is forgettable. It was more just for like the concept of being, oh, you're on Kent Farms in Smallville, and you know, the storyline aspect of it originally was the appeal.
Doomsday's extraction field is feeding continuous DNA reinforcement to Lex's experiment subjects. Break it to free Lex's.
So you turn the cogs, wait, and then you basically run the crystal. Because Doomsday is going to come out. So this character model would be the one updated, is what they said. So it's going to look slightly different. I forget what the differences is. I guess it's just more a little bit more HD. But other than that, as soon as you see the team must transport, then you can run and grab the cog. Usually it's the tank. Not sure who went for it first this time. But as soon as it comes up, just stop DPSing Doomsday altogether. Run the cog out to well, you got to destroy the pillars first to be able to bring them down in that station. So that's why I run out and do this. You turn the cogs. But there's no, you know, you could sit there and DPS Doomsday forever. I mean, he's got like an infinite amount of health. So you can't actually kill him like that. So, I mean, you're just wasting time. As soon as the mechanics come up, run out and do this.
You just made a big mistake.
Wait, I think I had to reverse order. That's what it was. I think you have to disable the cogs on the terminal first before you can actually grab the crystal to run. I'm pretty sure that's how it was, because it drops the shielding. But yeah, this is the part where you want to DPS. As soon as you see that Doomsday cog, that's when you want to summon and drop everything. Don't waste supercharges or allies or anything in that first part. Only do it while he's debuffed. And you could probably do this almost in one phase, because the phase does last a while. So if you're saving your supercharges, allies, everything, then you should be able to save yourself. I think we end up two-phasing it, but I mean, obviously with the, if it was a more DPS focused group, then we could certainly get this one phase. I think some mentioned it in my previous video. I will be doing an updated ice guide, because if you haven't already noticed that they did change Ice Elemental during the Mercy artifact when it was on test server. So they added Ice Elemental can now run iconic abilities, which does change a lot, because Heat Vision in Ice Elemental does up Ice's single target to near top tier, especially with having the 0.5 second cooldown on Ice Golem. So you can run Ice Elemental pretty much like endlessly, as soon as you're always in the form for the buff damage, for the 60% buff damage. Plus, if you have enough supercharge regen, you can pop Ice Elemental and then Blizzard in Ice Elemental. Yeah, so you can see how much of a sliver of health he is. So I mean, you can easily one phase this and save a few minutes. And just popping the crystal, and then obviously he's going to die now with that sliver of health. And that's Smallville. So I do apologize. This was definitely a dry commentary compared to others. But definitely Dark Star War Factory, I'll have a lot more things to talk about. But take care. We'll see you in the next video. Take care. We'll see you.